Hey everybody and welcome back. Today is August 14th of 2019. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the death of Jeffrey Epstein, or more accurately, the death of the Jeffrey Epstein character as he is presented to us through the mainstream media. On this channel, for anybody who happens to be new, I talk about the language of Gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words. And if you haven't heard of the word Gematria before, also pronounced Gematria, that's certainly by design, as this language, once observed and understood, reveals the truth about our mainstream media and the news it feeds us on a daily basis. The reason I'm calling this the Jeffrey Epstein death hoax is because I don't believe this man is truly dead. What I do believe is that we are lied to day in, day out by the mainstream media, and they do so using a numeric code rooted in Jewish mysticism and the Kabbalah. The ancient Hebrew and Greek languages did not have separate lettering and numbering systems, like English does. However, it appears as if our current 26-letter alphabet is very much embedded with this code. So in my videos, I talk about how this language of Gematria and these numbers often reveal riddles related to total solar and lunar eclipses, but ultimately the numerology of the sun and the moon. So we'll explain in depth how the character Jeffrey Epstein is already coded with the numbers of the moon to begin with, then followed up with the date he died and how that ties in to the same code. For starters, let's just talk about the date he died, August 10th. That date is written 10/8 internationally. Here in the United States, it's written 8/10. The name Jeff sums to both 18 and 81 in this language of Gematria, using the reduction, ciphers, and the reverse method. Notice the 27 in the alphabetic order as well, to go along with these 18s and 81s. The word ritual also has a numeric value of 27 in reduction and 81 in both ordinal ciphers, both the alphabetic order forwards and when reversed, where Z is assigned 1 and A gets the number 26. This particular ritual had everything to do with the moon. And we can start by looking at the numerology of the date Jeffrey Epstein died. It said that he was found in his jail cell on August 10th, 2019. And keep in mind, all of what I'm sharing is on top of the unlikeliness of so many things, such as this man being taken off of suicide watch despite only being 18 days removed from a serious injury in his own jail cell. Also, the logistics of how to hang yourself in a jail cell to begin with. We hear about this so often in the media, and it's quite a surprise to me that so many people could successfully pull this off. But never mind that. Again, we're just looking at the numerology and focusing on that. The date of Epstein's death had numerology of 57 and 21. This is by adding 8 plus 10 plus 20 plus 19, or all of the individual digits together. Using the alphabetic order and the rules of numerology, where each double-digit number is reduced to a single digit, the word moon has a numeric value of both 57 and 21. The name Jeffrey Epstein, using the alphabetic order, sums to 163. And this is interesting because if you measure from the date he died to what would have been his next birthday, we find that he died exactly 163 days before his own birthday, just like the gematria of his name. Now, the number 163 is a prime number, and literally every single one of my videos, I show how these prime number relationships are so significant. When we look at the Hebrew language, where gematria seems to have originated alongside Greek, notice how the word moon in Hebrew ordinal has a value of 38. The name Jeffrey Epstein, again, summing to the 38th prime number, dying the 38th prime number of days away from his birthday. This 38, also the gematria of the word death. The word killing equals 38. So does murder in reverse. And in this case, Jeffrey Epstein is said to have committed suicide, but a lot of people believe that he was technically suicided, which also has a 38. Call it a coincidence if you'd like. But notice how the word moon in Hebrew also has a gematria value of 218, this using the full gematria chart with the letters expanded instead of reduced. Jeffrey Epstein's full name is Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and in the alphabetic order, this name sums to 218, just like the Hebrew value of moon. If you instead write out the moon, which specifically refers to the moon orbiting our Earth, here you get a value of 223. This being a significant number as the Saros cycle, which allows us to predict the next solar and lunar eclipse, is a period of exactly 223 lunar phases. And in the reverse alphabetic order, Jeffrey Edward Epstein equals 322, which is, of course, the reverse of 223. In regards to the 218, I also want to point out how this man was born on the date January 20th, which also has a numeric value of 218 in the reverse alphabetic order. Now, this year, January 20th was a significant date. On January 21st of this year, we had the one and only total lunar eclipse of 2019. Now, you'll see that this occurred on the date January 21st, which is one day after Jeffrey Epstein's birthday. However, because this occurred in the early morning hours of the 21st, it was still technically January 20th in the United States, where the eclipse could not be seen. So if you measure from his most recent birthday, January 20th, to the date of his death, you find it was a span of 203 days. This is the numeric value of total lunar eclipse. 203, dying exactly 203 days after this year's lunar eclipse. Now, January 20th this year was a significant birthday, I guess you could say. On that date, Jeffrey Epstein turned exactly 66 years old. 66 is the ordinal value of lunar. And in Jewish gematria, which is the Latin alphabetic order, English characters placed at the end here, if you reduce that to a 1 through 27 cipher, the word eclipse also equals 66. As you can see here on this chart. Now, there's a special number that connects the sun and the moon. This would be the number 108, because the moon is 108 times its own diameter from the Earth. The sun, which is 108 times the width of the Earth, is also 108 times the width of the sun away from the Earth. So this number is very significant to astronomy. The word geometry equals 108 in both forwards and backwards gematria. The phrase full moon also equaling 108. And think about how technically this image here, with the moon opposite the sun, would be a full moon. So the date that Jeffrey Epstein died, you can see how it's pretty significant, because it was the 10th of August, which is the date written 10/8. Remember how Jeffrey Epstein was previously found injured and semi-conscious in his jail cell? That was on the date July 23rd, which, if you measure from that date to the date of his eventual death, it was 18 days later. Also, his death falling 1 month and 8 days after this year's total solar eclipse. So a lot of 18s there. This is also 39 days. The name Jeffrey equals 39. So does the word eclipse. Jeffrey dying 39 days after the eclipse. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein's life lesson number, 1 plus 20 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 3, sums to 39. Now, I'm also going to talk about how this death is related to the Pizzagate scandal that was brought to light back in 2016. Now, I am of the belief that the Pizzagate story would not have reached the mainstream media at all if it was based in reality in the slightest. This story was certainly meant to confuse the masses during an election cycle which was rather chaotic. And a lot of people think that this is one of the things that helped lead to Trump's election. Because think about it. The idea of Trump being elected president was so absurd at the time, they had to introduce a number of bizarre stories that made it look like we had reason to vote a reality television star into the highest office in the land. Now, Pizzagate was first brought to light on October 30th of 2016 when a Twitter account claims to have linked members of the Democratic Party to a pedophilia ring through the emails of Anthony Weiner, who was under investigation. Now, October 30th is the 303rd day of the year. And remember, the number 33 is a hoax code. In fact, hoax code does sum to 33. The word pizza equals 38 in reduction. The word gate summing to 33 in ordinal. The number 33, when spelled out, has matching gematria with the date August 10th on which Jeffrey Epstein ultimately died. Notice the 156 in both of these values. This man was born in and died in New York, New York. And we'll talk about the 222 in a little bit. So then, the date must line up, right? And I certainly believe it does. Notice how if you measure from the date of the first Pizzagate leak to the date of Epstein's death gives us a span of 1,015 days. The name Jeff Epstein sums to 115 in the alphabetic order. And this is a number that's pretty important. The word killing summing to 115 in both reverse gematria and Jewish gematria. Two different ciphers, but the same calculation. You may also notice the 74. This was in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday. So when Jeffrey Epstein died, he was 66 years and 6 months old. In Jewish gematria, sex trafficking equals 666. So what an appropriate age for this man to die at, given that he was in the midst of a sex trafficking trial. Also, in Sumerian gematria, Pizzagate sums to 666. This cipher, based on the number 6, is the standard alphabetic order multiplied by 6. And there's more riddles here that I didn't even post about. You may be familiar with this phrase, mathematics of the circle, which has a value of 666. Notice how in ordinal this sums to 216. Well, 216 is the product of 6 times 6 times 6. The moon's equatorial radius is 2,160 miles. And this 216 is 108 times 2. Remember, we talked about this number 108, how significant it is to the moon. Now, in Hebrew gematria, the word circle has a numeric value of 143. And this is all relevant because the moon is the largest observable circle in the sky. The date that Jeffrey Epstein passed away, allegedly, is the day that leaves 143 days on the calendar. And what's so interesting about this circle alignment is how his full name, Jeffrey Edward Epstein, gives us a 101 and a 106. This is like 11 and 16, which is the gematria of pi. 11 reverse, 16 reduction. Also, the phrase pedophilia ring sums to 143. This man charged with leading a pedophilia ring. Notice how this also sums to 73, just like Jeffrey Epstein. And the flight that people are said to have taken to his island was called the Lolita Express, which also sums to 73. Now remember, Pizzagate began with a controversy around a restaurant called Comet Ping Pong. And check out Comet Ping Pong. Also 73, just like Jeffrey Epstein, just like pedophilia ring. It all overlaps so nicely. In the alphabetic order, Comet Ping Pong equals 154. Now this number, a number of ritual sacrifice, 154. And think about how 154 is 14 times 11. Jeffrey Epstein equals 1411. Numerically connected to the whole Pizzagate ritual. Finally, the death of Jeffrey Epstein was on the 222nd day of the year. In the alphabetic order, death of Jeffrey Epstein equals 222. This man's death occurring in the city of New York, New York, which also sums to 222. And there's actually a special riddle I wanted to share with you that I didn't mention in the post. I spent some time talking about the circle, the numerology of the mathematics of the circle in pi and how important that is. There's a very significant secret society, the Society of Jesus, Masonic order within the Catholic Church. Notice how their emblem is the circle. And from this circle, there are 32 rays emanating from the sun. Notice how the word circle equals 32 in reduction. Now, normally I don't really talk about this society, but there's something pretty interesting here. And this actually happens to be exactly what I titled my blog post. And call this a coincidence if you want. I don't really think it is. This could be a layer of coding that is just so deep that it's beyond some of our comprehension. But check this out. In Jewish Gematria, the death of Jeffrey Epstein sums to 1698. There's a couple other interesting numbers here, but I'll skip over them for now. What I want to point out is that 1698 is the same Gematria as Society of Jesus, 1698. Now, the Society of Jesus was established on the date September 27th. This means that if you measure from Jeffrey Epstein's death to the Jesuit order's anniversary, you get 6 weeks and 6 days. Epstein died at the age of 66 years old. Furthermore, this is also 317 days after the Jesuit order's anniversary. And 317 is the 66th prime number. Again, the age at which Epstein was when he died. And where does this number 1698 come from anyway? Remember, the Society of Jesus has an emblem of the circle. So doesn't it stand to reason that the word pi, summing to 16, pi represents 3.14, which equals 98. So Society of Jesus, 1698. The death of Jeffrey Epstein, 1698. Pi 16, 3.1498. And as I mentioned, Jeffrey Edward Epstein has that gematria that lines up with pi, 101 and 16. 1116. And it kind of sounds ridiculous to go this far with the decoding, but I don't have much doubt in my mind that this stuff is intentional. I mean, again, someone like Jeffrey Epstein, just playing a character on the main stage for the mainstream media. And, really to believe that this guy is dead, especially in the way that they told us, is quite the stretch. And really, this is the kind of story that should help some people wake up to the falsehoods being spread by the mainstream media. Of course, a lot of people are so far deep believing this crap that they just can't see beyond it anymore because it has progressed over time. The news wasn't always this completely ridiculous, but it's getting there. And hopefully someone can look at this story, understand that there's definitely something behind it. And no, I don't believe it was the Clintons killing this man, but there's definitely some trickery here. It just goes a little deeper than what we thought. Oh, one last thing I wanted to share, and hopefully I can find this picture. There was some video going around of the New York Medical Examiner van pulling up to take the body of Jeffrey Epstein. Zach had showed this footage on the channel, and forgive me for not pulling this up before. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this on here. No, this is a different one. Anyway, I wish I could find it. They pulled up with the medical examiner's car was 134. Here it is. Here you see forensic operations, New York Medical Examiner 134. And, again, like I said, this is all for show. They're not really picking up a body here. But look at the vehicle number they chose, 134. Too interesting. 134 is the reverse alphabetic order value of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is the Jewish holiday of mourning, which takes place on the 9th of Av every year. And see how 9th of Av also sums to 134. This year, Tisha B'Av fell on August 10th. The date that Jeffrey Epstein died. And, of course, Jeffrey Epstein was born to Jewish parents in the city of Brooklyn. So how interesting is that? On the Jewish day of mourning, a major Jewish figure passes away, and then they pick him up in a vehicle with the number that honors Tisha B'Av. Because it's all a shit show for the Goyim, for all of us cattle that are expected to believe this crap. All right, guys. Thanks to everybody who popped in on the live stream. I will be doing a couple more videos tonight. So, stick around and stay tuned for a little bit more. I'm going to be doing a video on the indictment of the Chrisley family. We're going to talk about how that ties into the Eclipse crucifixion code. Of course, the crucifixion code around the crucifixion of Christ. And here we'll have the Chrisley family. And then I'm also going to decode a couple other events. We had a stabbing spree in Sydney the other day. There was also, if I can remember, one other story I was going to look at in that video was the daycare fire in Erie, Pennsylvania on August 11th. Maybe we'll look at a couple other stories. The death of a man at a Blink-182 concert. The death of a Pittsburgh Steelers coach. A few interesting things. So, like I said, stick around, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.